The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Good evening and welcome to Illuminating the Paranormal, opening your mind to the possibility. How is everyone this evening? Over here in the Midwest, we had a little snow. It melted away. We had a little more snow. It melted away. If they can just keep that up, I'll be fine till spring. What have I got? Like another 28, 29 more days till spring? Please, Lord, bring it on because don't think I can handle any more snow. Hope everything is well with you guys. And I have tonight a fantastic guest. This is someone that I met several years ago, and you guys probably are going to recognize his name when I say it. Tonight I have Dave Spinks with me. Dave has been investigating and researching the supernatural since 1986. Due to several experiences he had as a young man, since that time he has conducted several hundred, probably even more than that by now, investigations in the U.S. and also in Europe. Dave served in the U.S. Air Force for 8 years, thank you, sir, and went on to work as a federal law enforcement officer, retiring in 2011. Having investigated strange phenomena for over 30 years, he has built many friendships with some of the most well-known investigators in the field today. He has been seen on various television shows, which include Terror in the Woods, Paranormal 911, The Unexplained, In Search of Monsters, These Woods Are Haunted, and his most recent, which was Expedition X, which was just last week. He was on with Josh Gates. Let's see. He has also been on many radio shows, podcasts, and he's also been featured in the film The Flatwood Monster, A Legacy of Fear by Small Town Monsters. Dave, geez, could you do any more? My mouth is getting dry saying all that. My goodness.
Well, I mean, I try to share what I've done with folks, and give them an idea. It's all fun. That's the fun aspect of it. I don't do it for that, but sometimes you get some cool opportunities and you got to take advantage of them.
That's right. Now, I know you've also done at least 4 books. I know you did Real West Virginia Hauntings with Rosemary Ellen Guiley, correct? And let's see, you've also done West Virginia Bigfoot with David Weatherly, Real West Virginia UFOs, Sightings, Close Encounters with Melissa Kennedy, and then the last book you just brought out is about Willows Weep, the beginning, and that one is just you, and that's because you, sir, are now the proud owner of Willows Weep and Cayuga, Indiana. That is just, that one right there just kind of floors me. I just was so happy to hear it was somebody I knew that took over that place. I have not yet been. It is on my paranormal bucket list. And since you and I talked earlier today, it looks like I may be able to cross another one off my list. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, it's a phenomenal place, really. And that was featured on the His Explained, or we did an episode that didn't even really scratch the surface of what the Willows.
Oh, and I believe it. So, I believe it. Now, how long have you been the owner of Willows Weep?
The reason right almost 3 years now, right around 3 years. I didn't go real public with it.
Okay. You've been doing
into it.
Okay. I know that you've been there and you've done quite a few different investigations there. And I have to ask, is Willows Weep your most intriguing haunt?
Well, I mean, doing this for so many years, like when you come across a house such as Willows Weep with all the tragic deaths and all the things that have been reported by numerous other investors before I ever owned that place. That's how I found out about it in the beginning, way back in 2013 through word of mouth from other investigators. Hey, you got to get out. It's crazy, blah, blah, blah. So I went there several times and investigated and got some phenomenal things. And then, in story short, one day I was talking to Brenda, and she just came out and said, look, I want to get rid of this house. She felt that it has tried to kill her and her husband a couple of times, and she was just done with it. And he said, she offered it to me and one other person because she said she felt that we were the only ones that could take it where it needed to go. That story needs to be told, she said, and that's what I did with it. And at the same time, what better of a place to have a paranormal lab for the community, and myself, because when you have a place, I mean, the number of deaths that we know about in this house is pretty high. And then there's some other possible deaths that we can't confirm factually yet. Still working on those. But when you have a house that has all these nuances, these paranormal nuances, with tragic death, the way it's built in the shape of a cross, it was built specifically in that shape for some reason, and I think it's related to the Masons, but just found out recently from an investigator there that I had in that he is a 32nd degree Mason, and he confirmed that the house is loaded with Masonic symbology. So, and with all the different nuances with the Masons and the deaths and some of the bizarre deaths, like one of the owners was eaten alive by his own hogs, where they drug him back into the house where he bled out. It's just crazy stuff. And he turned out to be, he was a pedophile who was raping one of his own stepdaughters, and he got busted in court, and then he got eaten alive by his own hog. So that's some kind of weird karmic thing going on. Numerous investigators have been attacked in the house. Many people report seeing different types of apparitions and shadow figures in the house, and we caught one on camera by pure happenstance.
You still there?
And yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You keep cutting out. I don't know what it is, but you keep cutting out. So after the hogs, you kind of cut out, so I apologize. Could you repeat that? Okay, guys, it sounds like we are having some difficulties with Skype. If you give me just a minute, I am going to try and call him back in on his phone. So give me half a second here, and I will get back in there and give that gentleman a call. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Oh, Skype, always doing something. Hey, David, seems to be like Skype is really acting up tonight. Do you want me to call you back on your phone?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay, I'm going to hang up from you, and it's
we got back.
All right, I'm going to call you back on your phone, okay?
Okay, bye.
All right, let's see if we can do this now. All right, always a joy with Skype. Let's see if this works.
Hello.
All right. Now that's better. That's the Dave voice I'm used to.
That's much better. I can hear you better, too.
Oh, good. Good. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in there. Sorry about that. Okay, so we were talking about the house and about there was so much Masonology in the house, and you were telling us about the gentleman who had been molesting one of his stepdaughters, and he got eaten by his own hogs, and then, unfortunately, we had some Skype issues. So I apologize. Where were we going with that?
Yeah, I was just telling people about the strange, bizarre coincidences and deaths in the house. There's a lot more to be done at the house. It's got all those things you look for in a haunted location. There's a crossroads right in front of the house. That if you've ever heard the Devil in the Crossroads story.
Yep.
The two rivers come into that little town. Underneath the whole town, there's a huge aquifer. And you've got ancient Native American burial grounds all around the area, and there was a huge Native American battle during the French and Indian War all over that place. Many people died, and you just got all these little things that can add up to being conduits of paranormal activity. And many people that have investigated the house have reported being attacked, in different means, different ways, spiritually, mentally, physically, strange deaths. It's just got a lot of stuff, and there's a controversy around the chair that's still in the house today. The last man that killed himself in the house. It's reported to me that was the chair they found him in, and it has his blood on it. But we are gonna go ahead and test that blood in the near future, just to either say that's human blood, or no, it's not, and it is what it is, so we can put that controversy to rest one way or the other. It doesn't matter to me either way, because the house has it all, so to speak. I mean, it's right up there with some Amityville stuff with the number of deaths, the bizarre deaths, and everything else. So, we can at least try to put that controversy to bed and just continue on with the research about the house and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was reading your book, the very last one that you had about, and it's about Willows Weep. They found a child's arm bone under the floorboards under the house.
That was reported to me by the former owner. She bought this house to help her son get started in life, right? And as they were trying to refurbish it and modernize it a little bit, all this strange stuff started happening, and it got to the point where it became so prevalent and nasty, like a board flew across the room, hit him in the head the first day she ever walked in, and all kinds of other things. And then she was attacked, and so she reached out to paranormal groups for help, started letting people come in and investigate it. And so many things happened that no one ever moved in the house since the last guy that lived in it, died in there. So during that whole renovation process, she had hired a local guy who still lives behind the house today, and had him go under the house to check the pipes, because it's a small little crawl space. And I've been under there, and it's tight for me. I mean, I have to low crawl like I'm in the military on my belly to get around in there. So, according to her, what happened was he was crawling around to get to the pipes, and there was these mounds of dirt under the house where he had to kind of push them out of his way to get over there to the pipes for the bathroom and stuff. And when he pushed some of the dirt out of the way, a bone popped out. So he picked it up and looked at it. He's like, man, that looks human. And then, according to him, and I have interviewed him, but he will not go on public record talking about it because it messed him up so bad. When he grabbed that arm bone, he said something attacked him physically in a sexual manner under the house, and it was all he could do to crawl out from under the house. He had to fight his way out. And he got out of the house, ran to Brenda, gave her the arm bone, said, I found this under the house, and I'm never going under that bleak house again. And so according to her, she told me she didn't know what to do, so she took it to the local doctor there in town. And according to her, he looked at the bone and said, it's definitely a child's arm bone. It looks fairly old. And according to her, they called the local authorities, and they said, well, since the doctor's saying it's old, either get rid of it or put it back where you got it, which I find highly unusual because normally there would have been an investigation done from where I come from, at least. And according to her, she put it back under the house. So there's still more to be done. You know, I'm going to have to get some people to get under there and see if that house is built on a graveyard, possibly Native American, or maybe someone was killed and buried under the house. I don't know at this point.
Okay.
So there's a lot more to be done. You know, there's a lot more to be done there.
Okay. All right. It's just, there were just so many things.
Oh, yeah, there's so many things. Another bizarre aspect of the house. So there's an upstairs, and in the original home plans, there was a staircase. But in the house today, there is no staircase, and you can't find one. And the only way to access the upstairs is through the outside window. You have to there's only one upstairs window, so you have to climb up a ladder, take the whole window pane out, and shimmy your way into the upstairs, which, from what you can see from the window, there's nothing up there. It's just like an attic storage space and no floor. So they either blocked it off at one time, or they never finished that part of the house. So, and there's numerous things that happened to that poor maintenance man. You know, he was thrown off a lawnmower by something and broke his back. Him and Brenda were painting the upper part of the house, and the ladder got shoved backwards, and he fell like 20 feet down on his back. So, you know, he doesn't even like talking about the house. So, you know, and other things have happened too. With the willow tree, she was working on the yard one day, and she saw her friends pull up in the front yard, so she went to talk to them, and they were asking her about, you know, the place being haunted and stuff, and they got to talking, and there was something to do with the willow tree, and the one guy said, well, I don't believe in that garbage, and he yanked one of the branches off on the willow tree and threw it in the dash, and it was him and his brother in the front seat, and then their friend in the back seat, and they took off down the road. Well, like an hour later, she gets a call and finds out the two brothers got in a fist fight in the car, and they were going really fast, and they flipped the car in a turn and flipped it into a graveyard, and they all three were life flights. Now, you can say that's coincidence. You could say that's coincidence, but I don't know. You know, I mean, and other people have had things go on with the willow tree as well. You know, so you know, and if you know anything about Native Americans, the willow tree is a very sacred tree, so you don't mess with them. You know.
Yeah. Do you think that's what is going on with the tree, or is there any other history type story that goes to it?
You know, I've never had any problems with concerning the tree, because when I'm there, I always show respect, and I offer tobacco and everything else to the Native American spirits that are possibly there. You know, the neighbors have told me, some of the ones I talked to, that when they dig their gardens every year, they find arrowheads and pottery. So that whole area was heavy duty with Native American activity for probably thousands of years. You know, so there's a definite possibility that that's some sort of sacred Native American burial grounds or hunting grounds or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, anywhere where there's water, there's a chance of that being sacred Native American grounds, because that whole area had a huge population of Native Americans for many thousands of years. And there's it goes back to even the modern tribes that we know. There's ancient Native American burial grounds all around that. The mound builders there's mounds in that area too. So it goes way, way back.
Wow. I was reading the book. I've looked at stuff online, and I'm just totally amazed about all the stuff that happens at this house. So what do? I contact Dave and said, hey, Dave, can I come investigate? So, guys, I'm hoping, possibly, if it works out, sometime in May to go with 3 of my other friends who are all seasoned investigators. And come April, I've been investigating for over 17 years. So this is something, we've been wanting to get back into investigating. I've kind of put it aside and was a speaker for a while out there. So I'm doing a lot less shows this year, and this is one of the places that I want to go to and investigate. And when it happens, I'll let you guys all know what happens that evening. So I'm excited now. A little leery, but excited.
Yeah, many people feel there's a portal in the house, we haven't even talked about the other stuff that was found in the house. You know, there was a strange book. It's a pamphlet that was found between the old floor and the new floor, and it says on the front of it, it says, "Is the spirit world real?" And it has an upside down pentagram on fire on the cover of it. Right. Well, when you look at it, it says it's put out by the so-called Church of God. And inside the pamphlet, it talks about how to communicate with spirits, how to do necromancy and everything else. And I don't know where you guys come from, but where I come from, there's no Christian organization that would ever print a book that tells you how to communicate with spirits, because if you've ever read anything in the Bible, if you're a Christian person, it tells you not to do that.
Right.
So this book tells you how to do it. And the pamphlet was printed in 1985, and I did some research on this so-called sect of the Church of God, and it seems to me that it is a cult masquerading as a Christian organization. So, you know, it is what it is, and it doesn't make any sense. If it was a Christian book, why would it, at some point in time in the history of this house, it was buried between the old floor and the new floor? The new floor is no longer in there because Brenda and them removed it when they were trying to renovate the house, because it was hooved up. It was laminate floor, and it was hooved up for moisture. And the original floor is still in there, and that's what's in the house today. So, you know, you've got all these different things that are just one thing after another, and that's why I said, I gotta take this opportunity to try to get to the bottom of some of these things, and see what the heck is all went on here. And another really strange aspect is that if you picture a cross in your mind, in the corners of the cross, there was 4 entrances and exits to this house. In each corner where the arms all meet in the middle, there was 4 doors that came in and left out of the house. And then under the center of the cross, in the cross space, there's a fire pit dug with granite rocks or limestone rocks around it, just like a fire pit, and there was ashes in it. So who the heck is setting fire? What is going on with that? Somebody doing some kind of fire rituals or something, or spells in the crawl space. You can barely fit in there.
Yeah.
So, there's all these weird little aspects to the house and everything. So, there's a lot more to be done, and it's just, I've never seen anything like it. So that's why I ended up buying it, to study it and research it. And, there's been all the regular things you get, when you're doing a paranormal investigation that have happened to numerous people in that house: disembodied voices, EVPs, equipment malfunctions, and there's no power in the house. I run power from the garage into the house, with a extension cord, so people can hook up, charge equipment or whatever they got to do. But so when your EMF is going off in that house, it's pretty much the real deal. If you've got any EMF meters, there's nothing in the house that's setting that off, because the only power is coming from the outside into the kitchen where you can charge your equipment and everything. And so you've had everything you can think of going on in that place.
Now, remind me.
Some phenomenal captures, shadow figures captured, still photos of what looks like the original owner's wife, that Living Dead Paranormal got several years ago when they investigated it. I'm sure you know who those guys are. I mean, they've been around a while. They're excellent investigators. And they were all in there, and they heard something that freaked them out, so they all kind of were hauling butt out of the house, and the last brother heard something behind him, and he turned around and just snapped a picture, and it's the spitting image of Marianne Sykes in a high-neck dress, her hair's in a bun, and it looks almost identical to her obituary photo. It's creepy as all get out. And many people have reported seeing an old woman in the house in a high-neck dress with her hair up in a bun. So
and that's the gentleman who committed suicide. That's his wife, correct?
No.
Oh, no, okay.
That was the original builders of the house. The last person, I don't want to say his name.
That's fine.
Family, I won't give them that, but you can find out. It's public info. I just don't want to,
Right. No, that's fine.
All that, but you got the Sykeses. See, the first 2 Sykeses that built the house and lived in it was Marianne and her husband, and he ended up dying in the bathtub of the house after she died several years later. And then their son is Jesse Sykes, the one that was eaten alive by his hogs.
Hogs, so, okay.
Yeah, and there's so many years. I think for a while the house was being rented because there's no records on who actually lived in the house or anything. And I've got some other people that sent me emails that said their grandmother lived in the house and stuff would happen all the time. Like she was old school and she would set the dinner table for breakfast after every night, you know, like the old grandmas used to do. They would set the table after they did the dishes for breakfast in the morning. He said Grandma would often say how she would come out of the bedroom and the dishes would be all disheveled on the floor and everything. Many times, and the rocking chair would rock by itself in there and all kinds of stuff. So the reports of paranormal activity go way back to this place.
Now, when I was reading the book, I believe I remember this correctly, but didn't you get some EVPs, or somebody did, when they asked if there had been sacrifices done there? Didn't you get an EVP that said yes?
Oh, yeah, we got many responses that refer to witchcraft and demons and, you know, that type of thing. I mean, I'm never the one to say I know for a fact there's a demon in a location.
Right. All
I can do is, say, hey, this is what we got on the responses. You make up your own mind. But I do definitely feel there was witchcraft. I think there's a doorway or a portal or a vortex opened in that house at some point in time in its history. I just don't know when and what was done. And there's just so many. There's even some modern deaths that I feel that are associated with the house, and some really bad juju that's happened to people that have investigated there too. So, you just, be mindful if you do investigate to protect yourself and cleanse yourself after you leave, because you just never know what you're going to get when you're doing this stuff. So,
understood.
So the first book was about all the known factual history that I knew about. I had some contributors, some investigators contribute their findings and what happened to them there. The second book is going to be called Willows Weep the Investigations. So any team that participates, say within 25 to 50 teams this year, we're going to do a controlled experiment. And any team that wants to participate that does go to investigate, they're going to try this controlled experiment. And then we're going to take all that paperwork that we give to each team that wants to participate, and we're going to compare it. And we're going to see if we can, get anything that correlates from all the different teams that are involved. Because that's one thing we need to do to kind of push the field forward. We have this great location that we can do this kind of thing with. And we're going to try some stuff to see if we can get similar results from various teams in the paranormal. And that's going to go into the second book.
You're being smart about it, sir. I like your thinking. Very much so. So, I just want to know: do you think that the activity ramps up more when you're there, or does it do it more for when others are there?
I really couldn't say. I mean, I've had some pretty crazy stuff happen there. I haven't been attacked yet, thank God, but many others claim to have been. I've seen scratches on people. People claim that things have followed them from there. Brenda said the first time she let a paranormal group come in, it felt like something punched her so hard in the stomach or hit her so hard in the stomach that it actually bruised her, I might get this wrong, but it bruised her liver and did something to her spleen or vice versa. And she had to go to the hospital. And then another time, something scratched her so violently down her back that it bled through her shirt. 3 giant scratches. So, and she had been attacked numerous times in that house. And also her husband went to work on the house one time, and he had a heart attack, and he recovered. And I might get this in the wrong order, but one time he had a heart attack, and another time after he recovered from that, he had a stroke. And this guy never had nothing wrong with him, and he lived there since the 60s. And so now, I mean, he can't even go around that house. He starts getting all messed up, and he's still having problems from it. And she was just done with it. She moved like 20 miles away, from the house. and was just done with it. And one of the creepiest stories, if you want me to tell it, I'll tell it to you. It's in the book too.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dave, I'm going to have you hold on because we're getting ready to take a break here. And how about when we come back from break, then you can tell us that story, because I don't know about you guys in the chat room, but I'm hanging on to every word here because I want to know. I want to hear it all. All right, guys. You are listening to Illuminating the Paranormal on Para-X with our guest, Dave Spinks, and we will be right back in just a few moments.
Your source for everything paranormal. Para-X.
I found it at last! Marla's sacred cauldron. This is the legendary artifact that has been whispered about in hushed tones for hundreds of years, and now it's mine! All
mine! Who dares defile the sanctity of my castle walls? Step away from the cauldron, you impertinent, muddy-mettled maltworm.
Never! I've spent half my lifetime trying to discover your age-old secret of stirring the cauldron.
Oh, for Merlin's sake, that's no deep, dark secret. Just tune into the Para-X Radio Network Thursday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern for more cauldron stirring than you can shake a wand at.
Oh, well, in that case, I guess I don't need to take up any more of your time, so I guess I'll be going.
Not just yet. We've got a little unfinished business to take care of.
That's Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Para-X Radio Network.
Hey, this is Lee.
And this is Michelle.
And this is Dustin from the Dead Zone.
Your source for everything paranormal. Para-X.
And welcome back, everyone, to Illuminating the Paranormal. My name is Tina Marie, and my guest tonight is Dave Spinks, and he has been scaring some of us with his stories from the haunted, very haunted place of Willows Weep in Cayuga, Indiana, and Dave is now currently the owner. So, Dave, you were about to relate a great story to us about the house. Please.
Yeah, so one of the creepiest stories that Brenda told me, and it's been verified by numerous people that she told me saw it happen, was in the back of the house there's a 40 by 40 metal building they had, and they used to do picnics and stuff, you know, because she ended up marrying the next door neighbor after she met him when she bought the house for her son. So They would do family get-togethers in that building and stuff. And they noticed her little niece was out there, and she was looking up and waving at the house. And so they were like, you know, they were kind of inside the building, so they came out, and they're like, Who are you waving at? And who are you waving at, honey? And she said, that little girl up in the window. And they all looked, and they said, what little girl? They didn't see no little girl, right? She goes, the one right there in the window. And they're like, honey, we don't see no little girl, you know. And they just chalked it up as a child's imagination, right? So they went back about doing what they were doing for a few minutes, and then they heard the little niece start screaming bloody murder, and they run out there, and they're like, what's wrong? What's wrong, honey? She goes, the little girl came down from the window and bit me on my face. And they're like, what? You know, they're freaking out, and then within a few 30 seconds or a minute or two, a human bite mark showed up on the little girl's face.
What?
And and numerous people, and the little girl has never been back to the house since. And then she was only 3 at the time. She's much older now. She's never been back. Another little boy was over at the house, one of her relatives, and he walked in there. They were having another get-together, and he said, I just saw Jesus Christ. And they're like, what are you talking about? She said, I just saw a man come out of the house. He walked through the wall, and he had a robe on, and he had a beard and long hair. He looked just like Jesus. So, and then her husband, who didn't even believe in the paranormal, saw when he was over there one day, the one that's real sick from all this stuff, he reported seeing an old man in overalls holding a little girl's hand, and they walked right through the wall together. So there's definitely a presence of a little girl or something masquerading as a little girl in that house. You know, and there's just all kind of reports from many, many different people of apparitions, of shadow figures, and whatnot. You know, there's been many pictures captured, many video clips captured, like I was telling you. The guy that caught the video clip of in broad daylight of a shadow figure like I've never, ever seen before. It's been looked at by many people now. There's no CG involved. It's what you see is what you get. It's the real deal. And you can check it out on my Real Supernatural YouTube channel. Just scroll down and look for where it says Shadow Man captured on camera at, Willows Weep. You'll see it. It's like a 30-second clip. It's pretty creepy. So, that's just some of we're just scratching the surface when it comes to Willows Weep. We could spend 7-8 hours talking about it and still never cover everything.
Maybe I need you to come out when I'm there to hold my hand. I don't know. I'm just Lord.
It's not for the faint of heart, I'll tell you. I mean, it's a pretty hardcore place to investigate. Like I was telling you on the break, the last group of women, there was 4 women that went to investigate, and they only lasted like 3-4 hours, and they were gone. They said they couldn't take it no more. It was very, very active for them.
Yeah, I hear it does drain people pretty quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, drains you of energy. So
one of the things too that I thought was very interesting that Brenda told me about was when she first had it, she started letting like couples stay the night in there, and she said every one of and most of them were married and stuff. She said every one of those couples that spent the night in the house ended up having some of the worst crazy things happen, like they became alcoholics, drug addicts, they all went through divorces, and all this negative, crazy stuff. And she's like, I don't know if that was because of the house, but, it's also coincidental how every single couple that did that had some some of them lost their kids and all kind of crazy stuff. So, is that related to the house, or is that related to just something else? We don't know.
Right.
Make up your own mind, But it's one of those places that it's got a lot of negative, sad energy, and there's, I think it's like I said, I think it's got a doorway that lets things come in and out at will. Not necessarily always bad, but sometimes there is bad things that come in there, and it affects people tremendously.
Yeah.
And when you look at a place that has the suicides like this house, suicide is one of the most tragic things there is, and that energy, that bad energy just stays and it stains the locations,
Yeah, I do. So I got to ask Dave, stepping away from Willows Weep for a minute, do you remember the first time we met?
Oh God, it's been a long time ago. Was it at what event was that at?
Actually, it was 2014 at Rhodes Hotel, and you and David Weatherly had just finished being there for like 4 or 5 days, and the night before, something had fallen and hit you in the head, you believed on purpose, and it put a huge gash in the top of your head.
Yeah, it was nothing falling or hitting me on the head. Something unseen hit me on the head.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so, we were up in that bathroom, upstairs in the brothel, and he was doing a ghost box session, and I was filming him, and I walked in there to set down a piece of equipment, and as I bent over, I felt this, wave of energy go right through me, very cold, and it knocked me kind of loony. I almost passed out. I saw tunnel vision. I got real dizzy. And I stumbled backwards, but nothing ever hit me in the head. I never hit my head on the wall, nothing.
Okay.
And he said, "What happened?" He said, "What happened?" And I told him what happened. And he's like, "Man, you don't look good. You better sit down." So I sat down back behind the camera as he was doing the ghost box session. And as he was continuing with this ghost box session, this entity or spirit, whatever it was, started saying his name was Ian, and he was going to kill the pig and all this stuff. Well, me being law enforcement, I took that as it was attacking me, right?
Yeah.
And it got darker and darker, so he shut it down. And while I'm sitting there, I kept feeling that cobweb sensation on my head, like when you walk into a basement and you got cobwebs getting on your hair and stuff. That's what it felt like. And he shut the ghost box down, and there was 15, 20 people downstairs watching all this because we had a live feed going at the time. And we walked down there, and everyone was like, "That was creepy as hell. What happened?" And I got that cobweb sensation on my head again. But before, I got to go back because I forgot to tell you what the ghost box said. So he said, "What'd you do to Dave?" on the ghost box, and it said, "I hit him." Just like that.
Oh, man.
And then it said, then he said, "What'd you hit him with?" And it said, "A shovel." So as it got darker, he shut down the ghost box. We go downstairs. I sat down, and I got that cobweb sensation on my head, and I went to wipe my head off, and I feel a huge knot on my head with a gash on it, and I pull back blood on my fingers. I'm like, oh, my God. So, we're sitting there going, what in the frick? And then you realize that this thing was telling you what it did. It didn't like me. It attacked me. And then the very next day, he got attacked by the same voice was coming over the ghost box saying it was going to slice him. Because he was giving it down the road for attacking me, and he ended up with 3 humongous scratches down the left side of his back that were about to bleed, and he got very nauseous and ill and had to go outside, and he was dry heaving and everything else.
Yeah.
So, it all made sense, and because what it was saying, it didn't like the fact that I was law enforcement. Obviously, it was a brothel ran by the Chicago mob, and he tried to kill me. So when you realize some of these things are powerful enough to punch into our realm and physically injure you, it's pretty unnerving. And that, I've been scratched and stuff on a few occasions, but nothing like that. That was the most that was the most just heaviest, creepiest feeling ever, because I had a big old knot, bigger than a golf ball on my head, and I was bleeding.
I remember.
It was nuts, man.
I remember. That was crazy. There didn't seem to be anything really bad there that night, but that was the first night that I came in contact with what the gentleman that I have always called is the bouncer. He's usually on the 3rd step down from upstairs. Big guy, wears overalls. It's only hooked on one side. Occasionally he likes to wear the preacher's hat like it's a joke. Sometimes he doesn't have it on. But every time I've gone, and I've always been respectful to him, he has always just kind of come and talked with me. So I love going to Rhodes. I think I've been there 7 times now. So to me, that's a good place. I've never had trouble. So what was there? Well, I know that gentleman, I think they kind of got rid of him, whatever that he was.
Yeah. It was crazy. But it makes sense, if it was a prior mobster who was running the girls, and of course they're going to be nicer to the girls anyway. And here I am, a cop in there. They're not going to want me in there because I'm ruining their business, So they try to take me out, So it makes sense the way it all went down, and that place we heard women talking all night. We were there for 5 days. And we heard heavy footsteps upstairs. The minute we walked in the door, we thought someone was in the house, and they came down those stairs, and the front door opened and shut, and we ran outside, and there was no one there. There was snow on the ground. There was no foot tracks. we're like, oh, this is crazy already. We had just literally walked in the door. So, you know, crazy.
That's another active place.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's the Rhodes Hotel, everyone. That's the one that's in Atlanta, Indiana. It's about 40 minutes north of Indianapolis. It's a great place to go and investigate. What's nice now is that it has been given to the Lost Limbs Foundation. So anytime you book it for an investigation, all that money goes to the Lost Limbs Foundation to help people who are struggling to pay for their prosthetics. Lost Limbs steps in and makes sure they get what they need. So if you ever want a great place to go and investigate, Rhodes Hotel is great. So I have another quick question for you here, sir. I do know you need to leave a few minutes early because you are actually going to be on another radio show for another 2 hours after me. I think you talking for 3 hours is a brave person, but that's you. So I got to ask, what's on your paranormal bucket list? Where haven't you been that you really want to go?
Oh, man, there's tons of them. I mean, I really want to do some more stuff overseas. I was lucky enough when I was in the military, I used to walk the streets of Venice, you know, one of the oldest cities in the world, and do EVPs and stuff. But there was one place out there I could never get the locals to take me, and that was Poveglia Island. That place is cursed, according to the locals, and, you know, there's been some people like, you know, Ghost Adventures got to go there. I'm sure they have to pay huge money. But, like, the locals say, no, me no take you there, you know, it's bad. And if they do take you there, like, they don't even touch their boat to the dock. They pull up and you have to jump off the boat onto the dock with your gear and stuff. And then the same thing when they come back. They refuse to even touch anything that has to do with that island. And it's because, you know, during the Black Plague, all those times, so many people died that literally that island is built off of bones. And, you know, and then there's a big old mental asylum and, you know, there. And that's one place I would love to just go and spend a couple of days and just see what I could get there. Because, you know, and over there they have even more history than we do here when it comes to modern, you know, people living and stuff like that. More wars, more craziness. Now, that's not to say, you know, the Native Americans here had all kinds of wars and stuff too, but, you know, when you're dealing with castles and all the wars and all the craziness, you know, that has gone on over in Europe, I mean, it's nuts, man. And you know, I definitely want to get over there and spend some more time. I want to go to Ireland, Scotland, and England, do some castles and some other things like that as well. And that's on the list for next year, I think. I mean, hopefully we can make it work out for a couple of weeks anyway and film it all, see what happens.
Nice. So you want to go over there. Besides doing that, is there anything up and coming, that book, movie, whatever, that isn't known by the public yet that you're allowed to announce yet tonight? Anything you got
I will
going?
tell you, I'm filming some more TV shows in the very near future. I can't tell you what they are. I'm not allowed to yet. But you'll be seeing me on some more TV, and I got some new books in the works, some more cryptid stuff, and I also have my volume 2 of Real West Virginia Hauntings that'll probably come out late this year around Halloween, hopefully, if everything works out. And I'm also doing a new book called Real Indiana Hauntings, based off of all my investigations I've done in Indiana. So
it seems you're drawn here repeatedly. So I got to ask, what?
I have family ties there.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I have family ties in Indiana. When I was a little guy, my mom and dad were up there. A lot of people from West Virginia used to go up there for work because it was booming back in those days, you know.
Yeah.
And some of my family actually moved up there, so I do have some family that lives all around, in and around Indianapolis.
Okay, all right.
And it so happened it came full circle in my paranormal investigating years that I started doing investigations up there of all these crazy locations. You know, there's a lot of them up there, and it's the Crossroads State. You know,
yeah.
And you know, we all know about the Crossroads. A lot of strange things happen there. So.
Agreed. We always say, now I am in northern Indiana, I am less than 5 miles from Michigan. So we always say that there are strange things that happen in Indiana, but Michigan's just plain out weird. So
yeah, I've done some stuff up in Michigan too. I'm telling you, man. I mean, this stuff's everywhere. Spirits, in my opinion, are all around us. There's always something there going on. You just have to have an open mind, and the more you do this stuff, the more in tune you become to it. And and I don't try to change anyone's minds, because it's like religion and politics. Unless they have their own experience, they're not going to believe it anyway. So I just put up what I get. They make up your own mind. This is what happened to me, or this is what, check this out. This is what we captured. So it's a passion I have. I love doing it. I've done it for a long time, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can.
Well, you are down to 5 minutes before I have to let you go, sir. So one more quick question. Besides Willows Weep and obviously Rhodes Hotel, because we did talk about those two, where is the one place you've investigated that makes you pause and think about whether or not you ever really want to go back there?
Whew. Well, there's been a few like that, honestly. I tell you, Revenant Acres is no longer there, but that little house, I mean, that was one that really, the second time I was there, I had David Weatherly and Sean Austin with me, and we experienced some stuff that just, where we felt we had already got enough great stuff, and it was very dark in nature, and we felt that if we stayed any longer, we were going to be physically attacked by something. That's how bad it got. I mean, something, toward the end of that investigation, something hit the house so hard that the whole house shook, and it physically moved us where we were standing. And we thought, because it's, there's a 4-lane right in front of the house, probably 30, 40 yards away. We thought an 18-wheeler came off the road and hit the house. It made a huge boom, and the whole house shook. And we were live on Sean's Periscope and my YouTube at this time, and all the people watching saw it happen, heard it. And it was unnerving as all get out. And many other things happened that night, too. So at that point, that was one of the only times that I've ever said, all right, guys, we want to call this and get out of here, and we all made a conscious decision. We were going to stay all night, but we were there like 6-7 hours, and it got to the point that we were like, yeah, I think it's good. Anything else is going to be dangerous, and we rolled out early. And that's one of the only times I've ever rolled out of an investigation earlier than I was supposed to stay, and it was just one of those times that it was just craziness going on. We smelled rotting flesh. We smelled urine smell. We smelled, like someone defecated in the house. We got all kinds of crazy EVPs. Something was walking around downstairs when we were upstairs, and it came up the stairs where we were, and it was to the point that I thought someone was in the house, and I drew my pistol out waiting for somebody to come up the stairs at us.
Wow.
And that's how intense it was. And, there was rumored to be 2 possessions that took place in that house from investigators. And you can see one of the videos online. It's creepy as all get out. And that was before we had investigated it. The guys that used to run it, the cop, told me about it, and he showed me the video and stuff. But, just one of those times, that was one of the creepiest, and it's so tiny. It was even smaller than Willows Weep, and it was just off the chain, that place, for whatever. And the crazy thing is, there's no history on this place. The cop told me it was a known drug house. The cop told me it was a known drug house. He was still on duty cop at the time, and he was running all the paranormal stuff there. And he said he thinks that women were being held captive there, and some very, very heinous things were done. So that was his thoughts on it, and that was some of the scuttlebutt he heard through criminal CIs and stuff that he had, arrested, and they told on people and different things like that. So, you never know, man. Like I said, that bad energy, man, it stains those places.
Right. No, I agree. I've had a couple similar. So, yeah, I understand completely where you're coming from. got one more quick minute. It looks like you and I are only going to get to see each other twice this year. It looks like you're going to be at SoCon in Mattoon, Illinois, and then in October you'll be at Fright Fest in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So we'll only get to see each other twice this year, but I'm still looking forward to it. It'll be good to see you again, sir. It's always good to see your friends when you're out on the road and you're at Paracons and you run into them, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know you have another radio show coming, so guys, if you want to be able to find Dave Spinks, you can go to his website. It's DaveSpinks, ParanormalInvestigator.com. Check that out. It's got everything on there, and there are a ton of things that you can find on YouTube. Just put his name in, and you can find all of his books on Amazon. So look him up, buy his books. I'm going to tell you right now, Willows Weep, if you buy it, do not read it before you go to bed, because you will not sleep. It's that scary. Sir, thank you again. Yes, it is. Thank you again so much, Dave. I really want to have you come back sometime. Will you come back and grace us with your presence again, sir?
Oh, it's my pleasure. Anytime, hon. Just let me know.
All right. You got it. All right. Well, I will be in touch with you, sir. You have a good evening, and we'll talk to you later, all right?
All right. Have a good night. Thanks for having me on.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, I am still here. Can everybody still hear me? I hope you can. I am going to slowly wrap up my show here. I just have another minute or so, but I did want to let you guys know that I am got a few different times and places that I'm going to be appearing. The next one that you can find me at is actually February 29th from 7 to 9 p.m. I'm running a paranormal roundtable at Apothecates in Niles, Michigan. It's a great new place to go to. It is an actual, and Cece, I know you're in the chat room. It is a steampunk tea room. Wish you were over here in the Midwest, dear. You would love it. So that one's going to be a lot of fun. I got some Reiki classes coming up, and I've got some good stuff coming, guys. And let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, my first big show will be May 2nd and the 3rd. I'll be at the Parapsychon at Mansfield Reformatory. If you were listening last week, you heard Greg and Kathy talking about OSR and what a great thing that is there. So let's see. Just to let you guys know that all this information can be found on my Facebook page, where I'm going to be, what classes I'm running, where I'm speaking at. That is all at Nature's Earthware on Facebook. And so it's facebook.com/Nature's Earthware, WARE. I also have two other great sites you can go to, which is Heirloom Haberdashery, which is all my steampunk apparel and jewelry, and Three Sisters Smudging, which is a great place for you guys to go to, and we will make you custom smudges. A lot of people have sage out there, but not everybody does the custom smudges with lots of different great herbs. So if you guys are looking for something special, please let us know over at Three Sisters Smudging. And I want to know, who do you guys want to hear on my show? Give me a message. Send me a message. And I am on Facebook at Illuminating the Paranormal. And it would be great to hear from all of you. If you get a chance, hop on over there. Oh, guys, good night. I think that it's going to be a really, really good show for next week. On February 25th, I am going to have the great psychic medium, Mary Marshall, on my show. Oh, guys, I can't wait. She is good. I've known Mary for a couple of years, and she's going to be able to answer some of your questions, hopefully, and she's got some great books that are out as well. All right, guys, you guys have a very, very good week, and I will see you guys next week. Good night.